אליסה שואלת אם אתה רוצה את הלוח שם שלך.
אז זה מיוט, ראובן.
Okay, guys, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will start.
Kariti.
So I'm working on new apps, Bellator and Khan. This is the boring stuff.
Riti, I cannot hear you well. Can you go next to the microphone, please?
Okay, so I'm working now on a few new apps. First of all, we have Tarek, he's our new Android developer.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Tarek.
Hello,
Hello,
Thank-
Tarek.
Hello, hi.
Okay, so Tarek, maybe you want to start. Tarek will update us later.
Nothing to update.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to update, but
I'm working on 5 apps.
we are working on new apps, Bellator and Khan video. It's like Tagid, I don't know. Yeah, something new. And one, I wanted to talk with you about issue that we have that related to all our apps. So 2 weeks ago, I think someone entered a new library to our SDK. This library includes extra high DPI files and the launcher, for example. This is our specific issue. And all our apps now display this IC launcher, this icon. So we cannot release apps with this SDK. I'm working on this issue now to fix it. We are going to add, Ran, correct me if I'm wrong, we are going to add extra high DPI folder to our ZAP system.
Yeah. The thing is that I don't wanna, like, this is the easy fix, but we have current app and I don't wanna hold back for designers to create this specific as, even though we need to do it anyway. But what we're trying to do, basically what happened is that we added a JavaScript library that apparently these people accidentally put, this library is like infrastructure library. It has nothing to do with UI, and they probably accidentally added extra HDPI, the MIPMAP folder. So anyway, we need to override it in the app level, but now we're trying to find a solution that will exclude this file.
But Kariti, you told me in the latest version they don't have this file anymore.
Yeah, we can update this library, but I don't know if it will make break our code. I don't know what is the effects of this update. So.
Yeah, we need to check about updating the library, but I'm because it's like the libraries could include breaking changes, and I know that it's before releasing the Reshet app, so I'm not sure I want to introduce new bugs. In any case, this exclusion of any launcher icon.
We have like 2 weeks at least till we will release the version. So
Okay.
My solution is also for all our libraries. We can now exclude everything, every file, every what we want. We can exclude it from each library that we want. So it's like a general, it's generic. Like generic answer for all of these bugs. So it will be better to insert it to our SDK, but we need to.
We are doing the three.
What we are entering to our SDK.
we are doing three things at the same time. The first thing, we are adding the XXX HDPI to the system, and this will allow on any new app, we will need to add a new icon launcher of this size. This is one thing. The second thing, we will take a look of updating the library. And the third thing will be to add these exclusion capabilities to our Gradle files. So these three solutions should cover everything that is related to these matters.
Okay, so that's all for my end.
When it's gonna be added to Zap?
Today.
Okay.
But it will still not solve the problem, because in order for the problem to be solved, all the apps should be adding.
No, of course, adding the right size.
So should be added either today or in the beginning of next week, the worst case. In any case, I'm also checking about updating the library. I just need to make sure that there aren't any breaking changes. So
Yeah, I know that Gil tested it and it worked, but
okay, so I will talk to Gil, and if we will update it, it will be good. But in any case,
it's all this latest version.
But they removed the XXX.
they removed the entire assets folders because they don't need it. It's a mistake that they did on their first release, and they fixed it.
And adding it to Zap is just to support the actual 3x.
Yeah, no, exactly. We need to support it.
Any other asset in any other folder that put the XXX. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, finish all the ones that are sitting next to each other. Do one after one.
Okay.
I worked on a Reshet to connect the React with the inline player to work with the bridge that Reuven and Europe team did. I added some values that will pass into the React from the URL. And path additional params with the UUID. And now it's in the testing level. I need to check that everything is working and didn't break anything in the existing React plugin. More thing that I did is updating Televisa's app. Las Estrellas and Televisa Deportes. I had problem yesterday with all the analytics plugins that was added automatically to all the versions. Did anyone know it or?
Yes, this is the part of the migration.
I had some problem too.
So just check what the SDK version that you compile with and remove the plugin if it's smaller than, I think, 4.2.4 something. But Elad, maybe you can update for more details about it.
Sure. But the problem with my microphone.
When are you showing us the Android TV?
When I will build it from Zap.
What is missing in order for this to happen?
I need someone to go over the pull request and merge everything in the modular, basically.
So, yalla, push for it, for someone
Yeah.
to put the pull request.
That's it in my side.
Okay. I can update for the Europe team that we started working on a new project. Actually, just starting. Discovery Channel that you all know.
It's in Europe?
Discovery in UK, yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, we're looking to put the foot in the door in the UK and then expand to other territories. But we'll start off with this project. It's relatively similar to a project that we already worked on, the ProSieben, basically the main project. At least in terms of layout and things like that. But the technical challenge there is connecting to their own data source. We're not going to use the data source plugin at the moment. We'll ingest their data into our CMS because of tight time schedule, but it is planned for the future. And we're planning on using two main plugins. The login plugin that I understood was developed in the Israel team.
Are you going to use Atos or
No, ingestion. Regular ingestion of what items and basically all the categories. Very similar to what is already ingested in ProSieben. So we're going to use the login plugin that was developed in an Israel team. Basically, you need to create a request to their server just to identify the user. It's not really identification. It's an anonymous login. And we're going to wrap the Applicaster player with some sort of a plugin, because their VOD items are not ingested. The stream URLs are not ingested into the CMS. They have to be requested before starting to play the item. So we're creating a wrapper on top of the player to perform another request before actually playing the item.
what player are you going to use?
Applicaster player. Yeah, just a wrapper. So it's going to be an Applicaster player plugin or of some sort. And there's also a subscription, Google Play and App Store subscriptions.
Our player can get URL playable.
Sorry? Yeah, but you have to perform another request with a token just to get a stream and then play it on the player. So it's kind of a workaround for the player. So it's going to be a plugin. That's basically it. That's on this project level. So we'll start working on it basically today and tomorrow and the next couple of days. On other things, Udi talked to me, and he's about to have a meeting on Thursday, a very interesting meeting with somebody in Google Tel Aviv that is responsible for developer relations. Basically, he's going to, no, not Ran Nachmani, the one who manages Ran Nachmani. So basically, he's a developer relations manager in the Europe region. He's going to present Applicaster and showing some of what we're doing here. And it's going to be a good ground for also discussing issues that we might have with SDKs or requirements that we might have. I know it's kind of a long shot because they're not going to change things in the implementation just for Applicaster, but they might have some solutions or things that they've done with other developers on issues that they encountered. So if you guys have anything, it's going to take place this Thursday. So if you guys can think of things that you encountered on a daily basis as part of your development that you would say, I wish Google did this and that. Again, it's not going to be fixed immediately, but at least it might be presented. Sorry?
Shorter time for the syncing.
Yeah, basically the sync process is one of them, but I'm not sure that this is something that we have to check internally before we go out and reach for solutions. But generally, if you can think of something, it can be raised in the Android channel on Slack. And Udi asked if we would like to present anything. This is going to be just an introduction meeting. And we hope that we can open a direct channel to them, just like many other companies, even smaller than us, do. And just to strengthen the ties with Google. It can only benefit us. So if you guys can think of something that you want to raise up until the end of this week, feel free to do that through the Android channel on Slack. That's also possible. And that's it for me, I guess. Tarek, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing really interesting. Basically, I'm still experimenting with the Zap platform. I'm trying to learn it through. Recently, I've been added to the Bellator project in order to be like hands-on and start the project from scratch and maybe learn the Zap ecosystem better using, starting a new project. So for now, I don't have really any input on, because I'm still very early in the learning process. But maybe next week I will have something to add. So that's it for today.
Okay, that's it for us here from the meeting room.
The small meeting room.
Cool. So, Atanas, you're here? You wanna?
Yes. So I didn't do a lot on the Android platform. I mostly concentrated on iOS. It was implementing the single sign-on or half single sign-on feature, because it's getting a token, but it's not using it to sign anything. So I'm done with that. On Android, there were minor fixes like one crash and minor things like copy and things like that. So it's nothing too interesting really. It was mostly cool. So I'm happy with that. My week wasn't very stressful. It was not really calm, but just concentrated, and we were getting things done. And I think from what I'm hearing that the client is happy as well. So we can feel free to start screwing them again. So just joking. Yeah. So yeah, switching to another project, Discovery, and that's. I think it's going to be quite intense because the delivery date is in the middle of March. So the next thing I'm gonna work on some exchange of we have videos on demand and live streams, but we don't have the links, and we need some piece of logic that will fetch the streams. We have something in our infrastructure already, and it works. Whether it was needed or not, I don't understand the business logic behind that, but I'm using it for the Squadio plan. It's working. So I'm just gonna write something similar, maybe even inherit from these classes. That's my plan, and just fetch the streaming URLs. So that's my next task on both iOS and Android.
Question. Last week you raised an issue in the HTTP client. Have you did this change? You wanted something related to headers request or something like that?
So these things aren't a blocker for me, because whatever I needed, I just did. So no, I haven't done that, because this piece of work wasn't scheduled. I was concentrated on getting the delivery for the client. So the last time we discussed that we were gonna create a new method and use it in the different method, but it's not as simple as that, because you can't just do that. There's some other logic that's used in some other helper functions. So if I considered going this way, I considered going this route, but I was cornered out, and the only option was just to rewrite not to rewrite, but just to rewrite small pieces of these classes and like make them do the things that I want to do. So yeah, this we definitely need to upgrade this, because I know that Guy is gonna be working on something that like he would need to use this class, and I just actually sent him a message that like the current class is returning an empty string when there's forbidden access, but we need to distinguish between the classes returning an empty string for pretty much anything but 200 and 400. I think it's either 400 or 404, but they're nothing. Like we need to distinguish between redirection 300, 301, server down 500, forbidden 403, authentication.
We can just return the status code. That's it.
Yes, yeah, that's what I want. But like with the current implementation, it can't be done easily, and like this is actually a very core part of the code. So I'm not very comfortable to touch it unless I have a test suite that will cover practically everything, all the apps, because like everything is using this. So it's this is why we are.
It's the egg and the chicken. You know? It's like, it will always be like.
Well, I think it's the tests. I will feel comfortable to change to refactor the whole class and just add the status codes if we have these tests that will be covering all the apps practically. Otherwise, like we'll have a lot of back and forth and a lot of unhappy clients, because like the HTTP client is used by everything.
Well, I have a little bit of disagreement with you, but we can discuss about it later.
Okay. I accept criticism, and I like criticism because eventually.
I just don't agree with you. It's not criticism. I just don't agree.
That's fine. Like when I'm wrong, I like when people tell me when I'm wrong, and also when I'm stupid. By the way, I prefer that they tell me when I'm stupid, because I don't want to be stupid.
We can talk later.
Yeah, let's do that. Here's mine.
Cool. Elad, wanna say a little bit what you're working on?
Let's try to do it. He's got problems with his phone.
Okay. So James, you wanna?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, continuing along with my onboarding, watching videos and doing all that, as far as my task goes, I was able to finish up with the test last night. So I'm gonna have Ron guide me here a little bit on putting in the PR, but it should be ready to go, and then I'll be ready to move on.
A little bit about the test.
Oh, so the task itself is adding support for UI Builder for the URL scheme. Mainly for it can be in the filtered intent coming from anywhere, but mainly for preview, let's say off a QR code, for example. So basically just ingesting that URL and building a call to our ZapScreen API, and so testing was a little odd for me. I'm usually working in instrumented tests, so I did have to learn about Mockito and PowerMock for static, and I am doing River JSON Loader as an observable now, so testing that is not very straightforward, but I think I got it. So passing a test now, so yeah, looks good. And that's about it on my end. Yeah, you're still.
Okay. Can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't hear anyone. Can you hear me? Someone?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pablo, you wanna explain us what you did last week? I think it's important for everybody mainly, and what you're working now. I think it will be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, well, last week I finished an app that is using the UI builder, and yeah, that's was pretty much it. Now this week I am working on a second app that is using the UI builder as well, but with a different family. And yeah, what you want to add, Ron?
No, I want you maybe a little. Well, it's not ready yet, but mainly what Pablo we had. If you guys watch the video of the UI builder of how to add a component or how to add a new cell style, it was a little bit more complicated, and still is. But what we're doing with Pablo, because he's the first one that implemented actually adding new cell styles, and now he's adding new family of cell styles. We are trying to simplify the process of adding family or cell styles. I think maybe Pablo next week we will show it, but the idea that for every cell style that you will add, you will basically need to add the file that defines some logic about it, the class file of the cell style, and the XML. But better Pablo will show it next week after it's done, rather than me waving with the hands and no one understanding. I think. No, Pablo? What do you think?
I can do it, yeah, for sure.
So I think next week we will show it. I will take this opportunity. I want to share with you a little bit. Like, I want to do a short to show you a little bit the UI builder. Tell me if you can see my screen. I don't know which one you are seeing, but seeing the browser. The browser.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show a little bit new functionality that we had to zap. It's not yet released. It's exactly like what is stopping it from being released is James finishing his task. So I hope it by the end of this week we will publish it. But okay, so a little bit about the UI builder and the task that James is doing. Okay, so can you see the zap on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not Zap, it's the UI builder.
Yeah.
The UI builder, right? You can see the UI builder.
Yep.
So basically, I want to show what Pablo added is the option to use more cell styles. So he added list 4 as a cell style, and for the carousel component, he added another cell style, which is the cell 2. These cell styles are 4:3 aspect ratio. So it uses YouTube playlists and stuff like that. So we will communicate it, but you can also communicate it internally in your team that now you can use not only 1609, but also 4:3. This is one thing. Now, what I want to show you now is this new panel that was added. So currently what we had is that you can only have one layout configuration. So one list of screens, and every change that you would do would affect the production, any kind of change that you would do. Basically what we had now is some sort of a playground. And so here you have a drop down of the multiple layout, like screen configurations that you can use. And the idea is that each one of it is containing a different set of screens. Could be the same. And the way to visualize the ones that are sandbox, if you can see here, there is one that is marked production. This one, when the regular app will load this is the regular flow. But if you would want to check out your configuration, what you would need to do is scan the QR code or copy the clip or whatever, like trigger the intent filter that will open the app, and this one will load that specific configuration using the preview. You can create new configuration, empty one, or you can save as, which will basically duplicate the existing one. So if now I will do save as and I will call it runs layout, basically what it will do, it will generate a new layout that I can play with, not affecting the production environment. Okay, this is kind of the first step towards two things. The first thing is the first step, well, a very minor step towards A/B testing. Think about applying different, like applying multiple layouts on the same version on one hand. And on the second hand, it's basically allowing you to have a playground for your own testing without affecting anything in production. The UI of this will change a little bit. It will be like a little screen, a different screen, but in general, this is the idea. I think that's it about what I wanted to present. What else? Another thing that I want to talk about is more of a process thing or a procedure or whatever you want to call it. I want to talk a little bit about pull requests. So before I'm starting this, I will need 10 minutes, so I don't need 20 minutes, but I see that Reuven is here. And Reuven, you want to talk about a little bit what you implemented before I start talking about administrations? Reuven? Someone can hear me? Or I was talking to myself?
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, but I'm not sure that Reuven can hear you.
Yeah, Reuven's not responding.
Okay, so Reuven maybe is feeding the baby or something, but okay, so I will continue. Okay, so basically, I want to talk about a little bit procedure, and we will. I think Udi or Yaron, or I think Udi will give us like a document that summarizing a little bit what I want to talk about. But in general, I really feel that it's very complicated of us checking the pull requests. Either they are long, or each one of us is not really taking the right time to check the things, or we are not really focusing when we're testing the things, and all this kind of stuff. So I just want to say a couple of words about the way I see a pull request and the way that I think that it will be convenient, the way to deal with it on the side of the reviewer. So I think that the first thing that when we are trying to create a pull request, the first thing that we need to have in mind is how would we accept this pull request if someone else would submitted it to us. So I would tell you that in my personal perspective, if I'm receiving a pull request that is consisted out of 20 or 40 files, the first thing that I would say that I don't want to check it. I don't want to look at it. Like I would, if you will ask me to look at it, this is what I will do. If you ask me, maybe I'm not nice, but I would reject the pull request if it will be something like that, because I think that I cannot really give any kind of comments reviewing something that is that long, because I cannot really understand what's happening there, and I won't be able to focus on specific things. So I think that the first thing when we are submitting a pull request is to ask ourselves, would we want to receive this kind of pull request? So this is basically the first thing. The second thing, and this is something that I'm trying to work on, and I want to show it. I added a little to the ZAP repository, and I want to explain. So GitHub allows you to basically to create a pull request template. The pull request template, what it does basically is every time that you will try to open a pull request, it will put you a template. So this template is very basic, and I want to add it to each one of the repositories. and we can amend it, and I will open a pull request asking to change it, so I will be happy to have your comments. But the idea is that once we're submitting a pull request, I'm kind of going from the end to the start, but anyway, I want to talk a little bit about this. So the pull request should have a description. I'm not talking about this specific one. I don't care. I just want to show the template. But the idea is that each pull request should have a description. It should explain the known issues. Like, for example, if you are doing a pull request, the description first should be very descriptive. Okay, it's kind of straightforward, but the description should explain exactly what the pull request is doing. I can give you an example of a description. We're using similar template on the Zap project. Doesn't matter, but the idea is to put the person that is looking at the pull request in context. So it doesn't necessarily needs to be something that is long or something that, as much as you will elaborate, the better it will be. But the idea is actually to put in context the person that is going to review your pull request. So what I would expect is to write everything that is happening in the pull request. Also to explain things that are not self-explanatory in the code. So what is self-explanatory in the code, it's fine, but also maybe to explain the motivation, okay, of why you are doing the things. The second thing is to explain a little bit about known issues. So if your pull request is not full, in order to complete a task, please write it down in order for the person to understand why some parts might be missing, and maybe it will be added in the next pull request or something like that. So for example, here I'm explaining, I'm not saying that this is something perfect, but I just like arbitrarily chose it. So this pull request is adding some kind of functionality. I'm explaining what it does. And then I'm explaining that I added empty test cases in order not to forget to implement something and what is still missing in the pull request. After that, there is a checklist of the pull request that this is something for us not to forget. So, and basically this is leading me on like best practices of a pull request. So a pull request must be scoped to one task, must. Like if your pull request is doing multiple things, I don't know. If your pull request is doing a change in the player, but it also touches parts that are related to the, I don't know, to the feed endpoints, whatever, I expect it to be in a separate pull request. So a pull request should consist out of one task. And if you see that the code that you're writing is starting to be touching things that it doesn't need to touch, then it should ring a bell that you need to divide it into multiple pull requests. The second thing that we should include tests, so the pull request should be covered. And the third thing is to indicate for the user what the pull request is doing. The important part here is basically if you're doing any UI changes, I would expect you to put a screenshot. So if you are creating new cell styles, for example, I would think that if the pull request is, for example, this is very common in the Zap repository, Zap Android repository. Yeah. So if there is a pull request that is, for example, initializing template 38 and adding whatever XMLs, I would expect to have screenshots of each one of the cell style that you are adding. And then I think that if you follow this this template, I think, and you put an effort in writing the description to make the person want to review it, I think that it will be much more appealing and it will be much more clear to check. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is the fact that the pull request must be concise. Okay, so pull request must be scoped to one, sorry, this is what I want to want. So the pull request must be scoped to one task. So if your pull request is trying to do multiple things, you must break it down. You must break down to multiple pull requests. And I think that if each one of us is receiving a short pull request of 3 files, it will be much easier to review it, and the procedure will be much easier. And also, there is a chance to find things and to elaborate more about comments, rather if I'm getting a pull request of, I don't know, 40 files. I don't want to, like, I'm sure that I will find here like millions of pull requests that are 50 files and more. It's irrelevant who did it, but it's happening. Less in Zap Android, more in our SDKs. So that's the first part. The second part is about if you guys can nod that you hear me, that I'm not talking to myself, it would be great. Like I know James is next to me and is hearing me, but if you guys...
We hear you, mate.
Okay.
We are not near you, but we hear you.
Okay. So the second part is this. Tests must be included in each pull request. So unless you're doing, well, I can also give comments about adding XML. Like XML is code, so it should be covered either by like things that are Atanas explained as like behavior-driven development or feature test or instrumentation test or whatever test. So it should be included, but I don't want to elaborate about testing now. But the idea that the pull request must contain tests. And this is something that I know that Udi, as part of his job, will start enforcing. And you will see that the cards that you will be working in your board in each of the territory couldn't be finished. The task would not be finished if tests won't be included. And this will be something automatic. And so I think that, I don't know how to say it in English, but Yafa sha'a achat kodem, we say in Hebrew. So start writing the test for your pull requests, not to be surprised. That's the second thing. And
I have a question, Ran.
Yeah.
Who is writing the tests for the tests?
What do you mean, who is writing the test for the test? Who is writing the scenario?
I mean that you can also have bugs in your tests. And this danger shouldn't be ignored.
Yeah, but I agree. But I still think that it's a developer responsibility to get a task, to understand what the task should be, to write the test and make the test pass. So I agree that this also has some failure points. I agree. And what you're asking is more related to feature tests, which is very important. But I don't want to spread this conversation to the outside world. I want to talk about what we should do in our pull requests. And I think that what we should do in a pull request is at least cover our code by unit testing. And unit testing is the sole responsibility of the developer. So I agree that it also might include bugs, but I think that as much experience each one of us will be, the less it will happen. And I want to focus about this now. I don't want to open this conversation for things that are related to what we talked about last week or in the company meeting. And also, it's not part of my responsibility to give these kind of solutions. So I invite you to talk to either, I don't know, Yaron, Udi, Jonathan Laor, whatever, or Nir, or whomever you want to talk. But I want to focus about how I see a pull request being submitted. This
absolutely. That's fine, Mike. Just like today's.
What I'm doing now is a pull request of what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so I want to be concise about what I'm talking now. So that should be included as part of the task in the pull request. Now I want to move to the other side, the side of the reviewer, which is not less important than the side of the one that submitted the pull request. So I talked a little bit about Pablo, and I think that we're not taking too serious the way we are reviewing a pull request. That's the truth. I think that each one of us, the way I see the things, of course, we can talk about it, and each one of you has the legitimacy to think different. But I think that I think that each one of us should dedicate 1 hour in our calendar, in our agenda of each day, for reviewing pull requests, unless there are not ones that are open. But I think that each one of us should really take a specific time of the day and reviewing a pull request and be focused. The expectation is that the reviewer that finally gives the stamp on the pull request is that he has a responsibility that he approved. So of course the responsibility is of the code writing, and we're not trying to to put blame on anyone. It's not the purpose. But when each one of us is reviewing a pull request, we must understand that we are the last barrier of making this code go to production. This is the truth. We shouldn't count on the QA people or project managers or any kind of this. We should release something that we know that works, and the reviewer is the one that gives the stamp on top of it. So we should have a dedicated time for reviewing the pull request. In certain cases, I would say that if each one of us will give 1 hour for a pull request per day, okay, or 2 pull requests, doesn't matter, we can either even run the code to see what the guy did. So what the guy or the girl, did, and really check it deeply. And this is the second thing. The third thing is about the comments. When I'm reviewing a pull request, I'm being very annoying because I check every white space that is not in place, every blank line that is not in space. And I want all of us to do. I think that the pull request reviewing has 3 parts. The first part is to check that the code is working, to give comments about code. The second part is to talk about and this is like the product-wise or feature-wise. The second thing is about to give a better implementation, if possible, to give like a comment about, I would implement it like this, blah, blah, blah. And the third part would be talking about styling. I think that styling is super important. It's super important. This is something that we should take care. I'm jumping back 1 second to the pull request submitter. And I think that after you submit a pull request, there are basically a couple of things that you need to make sure. Of course, CI is passing. Okay, so a pull request that the CI is not passing is irrelevant. I wouldn't check it even unless it's in a known issue or work in progress or something like that. And the second thing is to take a look that the files that are not relevant, that I don't know, that the Android Studio did some styling changes, indentation, and all this kind of part should be omitted of the pull request if it's not relevant. If it's not something that you meant to do, remove it from the pull request. It's irrelevant. So if there is a file that you started working on and you created new 2 lines and then you forgot to delete it and it appears in the pull request, it should be removed. So take a look at the file changes after you're submitting the pull request, and don't just ping the reviewer to take a look at this. This is mainly, I know that it's kind of packed with things what I said, but I will, either me or Udi or someone or whatever, will publish some documentation and guidelines about this. There are multiple articles. I once shared with you like a process and some blog posts. I might share it again. But the idea is that the main idea is that the pull request should be following the checklist. It should have a description that is very clear for the reviewer to see what it has. It should have screenshots if it's doing any UI changes. And the other most important part also is the fact that the reviewer should really put an effort in reviewing the code and be tough on each other. Be tough. Don't pass a pull request that doesn't look right for you. Also styling wise, not only code wise. Well, I see that I bored a lot of people because everybody left the conversation, but I hope it made
Well, yeah.
I hope it made sense a little bit, and I would like to hear a little bit what you want to say about it, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, first of all, I think that clarifying on the side of the developer and the side of the reviewer, understanding exactly what they're checking and not just being rubber stamped, so to speak, is very important on one hand. But on the other hand, we need to understand between ourselves if the idea of the documentation here, or basically the idea of the description and the rest of the data, is for better understanding of the pull request or for documentation purposes, meaning that you can look back at old pull requests and then see exactly what they mean retroactively, taking a look at the past and things like that. If we want to document it, so to have a better understanding of what happened in the past and go through old pull requests and understand why things enter the code, then yes, it should be documented as deeply as possible and to be as understandable as possible. But if the idea is just to clarify for the reviewer what exactly they are checking, then I guess that might be might be better in some cases just to approach that person, if possible. If not possible, then it's irrelevant. Or maybe have an online session with the person, explain to them what you would like to review, and not just simply satisfy with fire and forget, meaning just send a pull request and hope that somebody reviews it in their time. Just insist on somebody actually sitting with you and understanding what you are doing. I know that it might be a little more, it might take a little more time in some cases, but I think that editing the pull request just to meet all the requirements, especially in the UI case that you mentioned, it can also be very time consuming. So I think we should really think on what the purpose of documenting the idea. Maybe Ran, you can answer that.
First, I agree with the approach of trying to find a person and verbally explaining what you did. That's the best thing. But as we are working remotely and the time differences and all this, so I would say that I would be satisfied if the description will be descriptive. That's what I'm saying. I don't see it as the documentation of the feature. I don't see it. I see it as an explanation of what was done. For example, I give you an example. Let's say that I did something in the code. I don't know. Let's take a look at this pull request. And this is maybe kind of straightforward, so I don't have anything to explain. But maybe this is only XML, so it's less a good example. But let's say that I did the change of I don't know, changing a signature of a function. Okay, I want to explain the motivation. I don't only want to write, I change it because I need it for template 33 and blah, blah, blah. You know, I want to explain a little bit about the motivation.
Yeah, you don't want to explain what you did because this is obvious from the code, should be obvious from the code. You want to explain why you did it and what
Exactly. So I think that a good description would start with a basic description of what this pull request is doing. Okay, this pull request is adding through 3 new cell styles for template 33. And then the new cell styles were added because we needed the cell style that is 4 and 3. Okay, for example, of a motivation.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. So I agree with you 100% that if you can do like a peer-to-peer talk and explain and go through the pull request together, it's preferable, but it's not always the case. And in that matter, I would say that this is very important to fill the temp. And Guy, I think that it takes 5 minutes. The truth.
Yeah. I know, but sometimes you might create a screenshot, but it won't necessarily help the other side to understand exactly what happened because they don't know the layout.
Screenshot is only for the UI changes.
No, screenshot it's only to show what the change was done. Okay, like if I'm writing, I did a change in the home screen carousel. I think that it's much more clear if you would put a screenshot. For example, here Yuli in the CMS, she added a new feed stubs. Okay, so she put a screenshot. Now I can understand what is this. You know, what is this tab?
But in our cases, the templates, it's meaningless to have a screenshot of the UI change.
Well, it's not meaningless. It might reflect what the change, but it's not necessarily that the other person.
The reviewer won't be able to know if this is what the designer wants, or
the reviewer will not know if it actually meets the requirement. But it's not doing
it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So if I'm the reviewer, for example, okay, let's say that you did a cell style, okay, and I'm the reviewer, and I'm looking at this cell style, and I'm looking at this, and I think, for example, that the way the designer did the title would not fit because the title could be super long. I don't know. I'm inventing an example. I think that I should comment it in the pull request. So I think it has a lot of meaning to add a screenshot.
Not the pull request is the place to do this review.
Why not? Why not? It's the only place when someone is reviewing your changes.
Where you can
it's the last place, but it should be...
This should happen in the design, but if it was missed in the design part, the pull request is the last result before the last...
Why not? I don't understand why not to do it. Why not?
Yeah, I understand.
If I don't have comments, cool, but maybe I have comments. This is the level that we should go into when we are checking pull requests. Look, in our company, because the organization is very flat, we must put ourselves the barriers in order to find problems. So I think that it's better that another person is looking at another thing, and this person is from a different territory, and he might have it might have a comment to say about it. You know, why not? If I don't have a comment, perfect. But what is the problem to take screenshots? It takes 2 minutes. Anyway, you are testing your code, right? If you're doing UI changes, you're running it on the device to take a look at it, right? So I'm not telling you now put screenshots of 10 different devices. Okay, I'm not saying this. But anyway, you're running it. So press 2 buttons on the device and make a screenshot and put it. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I think that it's if we will reach this level of pull requests, you will see that the level of the comments will increase, will rise. It will be the comments will be much better, and the way that we deliver will be much better quality. Of course, it's easier to write a description of one line. This pull request is changed the method of the HTTP client.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help, you know? It doesn't help. So I think, again, this is what I think that should happen. In the end, there will be I think that if I'm receiving a pull request with a UI change, I would like to have screenshot to see what this pull request did, what are the changes that were done. Maybe I don't have the time to run now the entire environment and all this kind of stuff, which will be the most cases. So at least I take a look and I see what it means then when, I don't know, when you're writing aspect ratio 1.77, I visually see it. When you read it in the XML, you don't really understand what's happening there. That's the truth. Not only me, any one of us.
Yeah, I think the most important take from this conversation is, you guys as reviewers, you need to understand that it is as much responsibility on you to approve when you approve the pull request as the one who actually wrote the code. And given that, you have to be able to understand exactly what was written there, why it was written, how it was written, and be sure as a reviewer that you have all the information that you need in order to actually sign the pull request and say as if it was your own code. It might be that there are some syntax differences or differences in taste, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everything must be exactly as you would write it on your own. But generally, you have to have enough information to approve a pull request and to sign it as if it were your own code. Ran, correct me if I'm just summarizing the entire thing, because technically, this will lead also for the developers to write a better description as they would like to get them as reviewers.
I agree. And no, I accept everything that you said. The last thing I want to say, I'm sorry that I'm stealing one more minute of your time, is something that really bothered me. Is the time that I see pull requests
hanging,
pending.
Yeah.
So basically, this, how is it called? Android SDK? I don't remember. Applicaster Android SDK.
Applicaster Dash.
Yeah, Applicaster Android SDK. Okay, so this is something that really bothered me. Like, I see here pull requests that are standing here 28 days, or from March 13, which is 1 month and a half, or from March 8, or from August 6. So I assume that the one of August 6, 16 is not relevant, so just close it. But the ones from 25 days ago, I'm sure that it's relevant, or the 28 ago, I'm sure that it's relevant. So basically, the responsibility of both sides. If you're submitting a pull request, be annoying enough to ping the people and not just publishing it, putting the reviewer and forgetting about it, hope that someone will accidentally take a look. All of us are very busy. So you shouldn't expect anyone to be that nice to go to the pull request, take a look at the list, then choose, and then this. Ping a person personally to help you do the pull request, because each one of us need a pull request review. So we must help each other with it. It's basically the responsibility of both sides. The first is the one that is putting the pull request. You should be like pushing for the review. And the second one, if someone is asking you, so be kind enough to take a look at it. It's important. Yeah. And to put effort in looking at it, not just putting the rubber stamp like Guy said. Cool. Sorry for the extra time that I took from you.
But important stuff.
Cool. So something for Tarek and James. Also Tzarfati, by the way.
Yeah.
As part of the onboarding, a presentation in the Tech Talk is needed. So please, each one of you prepare a talk on an arbitrary topic, which is relevant. Okay, so which is relevant to what we do, or to Android, let's say. And let's find the time of doing it, and basically that's it. Choose whatever, as long as it's relevant to what something.
Talk next week.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Last week I didn't publish the lecture because GoToMeeting crashed. I hope this time it will not happen, and I will be able to publish it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Rest of the day. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.